Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Pro League. It's round number 2 here, down live at the Nexon Arena. My name is Valdez. Joining with me today is Wolf. How are you doing today, Wolf?
I'm really feeling good. It's been a long time since I've commentated Pro League, and it's been a really long time since I've commentated Starcraft with you, Valdez. And we've got two great teams coming at us to start things off, MVP and StarTale, the two former ESF teams that, of course, have switched into Cast. But now StarTale, of course, if you look at that logo, it's just a StarTale logo, but they are partnered with YOE Flash Wolves, as they have been since the start of round 1. They've got a cool new uniform they're bringing at you guys today.
I can't wait till you guys get to see this one. This is probably the most innovative uniform I've ever seen. And we'll get to see that in a bit here, but first we're going to take a look at MVP. They finished in 5th place, in fact, in the first round here, so not the worst. And here we go. Here is your new StarTale-yoe Flash Wolves uniform.
Yep. We need a sponsor. So if you're out there, you want a sponsor, note that the sponsor logo, we need a sponsor, if you will, is written in English. They may be looking for some international sponsors.
Maybe. Otherwise, they would have put it in Korean, Wolf.
Yeah, I think so, man. So
makes sense.
I know you guys watching the global stream right now might want to get on that. They're a great team. They do very well. They've got a lot of great players. They've arguably made some of the great players. Life, probably the most famous player they've ever churned out.
And the other part of this is that they're on TV very often here in Korea, so they definitely get a lot of foreign views on the internet as well as in Korea, so you're definitely getting a lot of bang for your buck in terms of getting views to your brand. If you want to put down the money, definitely go ahead and do that. Definitely a good team to do that too. And one thing we forgot to mention, the first match here is going to be MarineKing versus Leenock, starting things off with the TVZ. Going to be a pretty interesting one. Leenock has had some very nice results in the first round, whereas MarineKing, quite the opposite.
Yeah, it definitely gives you that old Wings of Liberty-esque feel from the old days of StarCraft. Let's take a look at our total points here for round 1. SK Telecom T1 massively in the lead as they did win the first round with 121 points. CJ Entis with a second-place score of 71, and then StarTale-yoe and Jin are tied at third with 61 points apiece.
Yep. Very interesting to see everything kind of come into play here. I guess because Jinner Greenwings, were they in 4th or was it 3rd? Or I'm not really sure, but they started off with a little bit of points and they got a little bit of extra points for getting 2nd, I believe. So,
yeah. I think they started in 4th, but they got that walkover win.
They got the walkover win, won over CJ Antis, and then lost to SK Telecom T1 there. So kind of all the other teams trying to fight there for 2nd place, I guess you can say, behind SK Telecom. So going into our winners rankings here, Innovation by and far the most successful player here in round number 1. He went 6-0. It's kind of like the TY in the last season of Pro League where he went 7-0.
Yeah.
And he has still not lost a single round. I want to point out one player on this list that I actually was surprised by, and that's actually Yonghwa. He's also 4-0, which is very interesting because I think in last season he went something like 2-8, 2-9 or something. This season, he's really turned it on, especially in PvP. He's got 3 wins there.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to point out Losira tied with 3rd place with 5-1, the highest 3rd place ranked player when it comes to win ratios. And he's an old Wings of Liberty player as well, who we're going to be seeing a little bit later on. We've seen him a lot already this season, as you guys saw. And this guy, I feel like, is very underrated right now. A top player for sure. And we can take a look at the race records from season to season, see how those change.
Yeah, Terran's definitely doing a lot better here, getting 8%. In fact, this is, of course, only over the course of 1 round, and this is the highest level of StarCraft, so it doesn't really denote any forms of balance. You can't say that Zerg is like, oh, they're 53%, they need to be nerfed. No, it's nothing like that. It's just there's a lot of good Zerg players in Pro League, so they win very often.
Yeah. Now, we have a few, unusual stats up here. The longest game we had was Hero versus Curious. I remember this game very well. It was a sick game. Go back and watch it if you missed it. 1 hour and 12 minutes long. The king of King Sejong Station was Dark. Was able to defeat MarineKing, Maru, Flash, Deer, and Rogue. And Zest played the most games in total. And in 2nd place, we have MarineKing, Byung, and Life tied up there.
Yeah, very interesting stats here. I actually like this a lot. Zest down there at 11 games. It was so funny because he was up there at 5-0 or something, and then he lost so many games. 2 of those going to Creator, and a couple of those not the best losses either. Dark very friendly here. I think he was 5-4 if I'm not mistaken. He got every single win on King Sejong Station.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they put him out so many times on this map, and he's clearly a master on the map. It really reminds me of Roro that we saw last season. He came out seeing King Sejong a lot and won, I think, every game except one for the whole season on that map. I think he was like 9-1 on the map.
It's pretty insane. Well, guys, we have a new map pool here for round number 2 of Pro League 2015. Foxtrot Labs and Catalina have been removed. The maps that are going to stay are King Sejong Station, Merry-Go-Round, Overgrowth, and Deadwing. And then our 2 new maps here from the ladder. We got Expedition Lost and Bonnie Research Station. Yeah,
definitely some of the better ones from the ladder map pool, I would say.
Yeah.
There's definitely some maps in there that I'm very glad we're not seeing. And I'm very happy that King Sejong Station remained because, you know, I was actually feeling like that was one of the maps that would probably be retired. But it's my favorite map in the pool, and it's been my favorite map in the pool since it was introduced. I mean, for those of you guys who don't know, this map actually originated in Pro League and then became a ladder map. So it's a great map. It's my favorite map. I think it's just got so much potential for fun games.
Yeah, Overgrowth sticking around as well. That's going to be around here for a while, I think, as well. Here for round number 2, we do have a extra player here added to the MVP roster. In fact, Horror has joined. Kim Hyo-jong is his name.
And this guy's been around for a long time. He actually went to the military and came back. He was on Incredible Miracle a very long time ago. You guys probably remember the ID, I am Horror. Yes. He went to the military and came back, so immediately jumped right back into pro gaming, has joined MVP here, and was a pretty good Zerg player back in the day. I don't know how good in shape he's going to be these days, though.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see if they even play him here coming into these future rounds of Pro Leagues. But now taking a look here at MVP's quote-unquote status, you get a look at how many players have played, or rather the race ratio, and what's that like in the win rate for the races. Looks like their Zerg's doing very well there at 6-2. MarineKing, they're getting a lot of losses for the Terran lineup.
Yeah. Now, Daisy left, I believe, a Wei Spider, Taiwanese team, and then, of course, joined StarTale here. And they joined StarTale's team, but, of course, they're going to be on StarTale-yoe. So Daisy joins. So that's a pretty nice pickup for them. However, they lost the biggest and best player on their team, Life, to go to KT Rolster.
You could argue that the reason they were easily able to make it into the playoffs of round number 1 was because of Life. I mean, look at that Zerg lineup. They have so many good Zergs. You know, Life isn't the only one. Of course, they've still got Leenock. They've still got Curious. But they lost the best player right now in the world.
Yeah.
And that is a huge loss.
That is a huge loss. I mean, it cannot be overstated how big of a loss it is to their team. Now let's take a look at today's matchups. We're starting things off with the King of Marines versus Leenock. Then we're going into Lucira versus Alive. Hero will then face Curious. And then on game 4, we're going to have Younghwa, Protoss versus Protoss against San on Deadwing. The 5th map, if necessary, will be Overgrowth.
I love the fact that they're sending out Younghwa here on Deadwing, maybe trying to get another Protoss. Deadwing, a very Protoss-favored map. They want to put him against more Protosses. He's doing so well. He did very well in the round of 32 of GSL as well. He didn't quite make it out, but he did have a lot of successful games against Protosses and showed some really interesting builds. And I would not be surprised if they continue to do this in the future. I mean, he's 3-0 right now for Pro League in terms of PvP. So,
and Younghwa is one of those players who's always been pretty consistently in the round of 32 of Codes. I mean,
he'll stay there forever, man. He'll never leave.
He's been there a lot. I mean, he's been around for a very long time, guys. These types of players are actually my personal favorites. The players who've actually been in StarCraft 2 since the beginning of high-level competitive StarCraft 2 play in Korea and have continued to make a career for themselves many, many years later.
Isn't Curious a guy like that as well? He used to be the gatekeeper, I think you guys called him, of Code A, kind of not letting anyone up there into Code S.
Yeah.
And he's still around.
He's still around. He's doing very well for himself these days. Was one of the anchors of Incredible Miracle a long, long time ago, back in GSTL. Then, of course, moved into StarTale. Has been there ever since. Has been a really strong force for their team. And this guy's got great PVZ, or ZVP, I should say, as he is the Zerg in that matchup.
And he's going up against Hero of Protoss today. We're going to get a look at those predictions a little bit later. They're pretty interesting. But I think we're going to jump into the coach interview here, even though we're still on camera.
We're going to be talking to Legend first. Even though we're still on camera.
We can stay on camera. We'll translate it for you guys.
Yeah, I'm looking at him.
You told the producer that you had a lot to say today. So let's hear what you have to say. Talking to Legend here. We had a good first round here, but we were late to our playoff match. So he wants to apologize to all the fans. And this kind of thing will never happen again in the future, especially because it won't be winter. He has something to say to the Blizzard staff.
Not the people who created the Blizzard that got their car stuck.
The fans are getting a lot of stress because of map hacking recently. And he wants the Blizzard staff to, in fact, take care of it as soon as possible. It's even more important to get rid of the map hacking than considering even the balance right now. You got to get rid of the map hacking right now instead.
Yeah, this is a really big issue in Korea, more than even you guys see on like Reddit, for example.
And to the map hackers, do not use map hacks. Let's play Manor games. Thank you.
Well, that was a cool interview from Legend. I mean, he said a lot of, you know, I think things that people wanted to hear because people were really confused, upset, frustrated that they didn't show up for their playoff match.
Yeah.
But, you know, more important than that to me, I think, is the map hacking issue. This is a really big issue in Korea. It's causing people to stop laddering, for example. So just something to keep in mind. We're going to be hearing from ST-YOE, the MVP coach. So at the media day, you know, he was talking his team up a lot, but they didn't actually make it to the playoffs last round. And they didn't do so well last season either. They're trying to do better this season. I feel the same way as Legend. He said what I wanted to say. And he doesn't actually understand why people are hacking. So a lot of people who are using the map hacks are actually using a lot of curse words in the game. And so he's really hoping that the Blizzard staff responds to this problem really soon. So very outspoken coach interviews today.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like they got together and they're like, we need to actually make a statement.
This is more like a press conference than an interview.
It doesn't really feel like an interview. They're not even really talking about the games. They're like, yeah, we didn't do quite well, but map hacking, that's got to go.
Yeah.
And it really does. I mean, it's a big issue, like you were saying before. People don't want to play the ladder if they're going to get hacked. This is just taking away a lot of the fun from playing the game that everybody loves, and it just needs to go.
It needs to go. It's I don't know what the response needs to be, like some sort of like VAC program or like, you know, just the ability to ban people like in a more timely manner.
I mean, if you look at any other successful game, they've got a system in place to get rid of hackers, and I think Blizzard is a little bit behind on that. They've got to get that in as soon as possible. And
Absolutely.
That's what I feel like everybody's kind of just going for here. And
by the way,
this.
I have the highest accuracy in prediction.
Whoa, this is great. This is actually awesome. I love the fact that we get the accuracy rates in here and we actually get to see how these guys are doing. Shout-outs to Wolf, seriously. It's hard to do. 70% guessing rate is quite high.
This is why I was on that show You Bet at the GSL, that my predictions are pretty good usually.
Well, the thing about you is you don't really look at all the stats, you know? You don't really look at the players, even how they're doing. You think about, like, more in-depth stuff. I guess I should let you explain it.
Yeah, so basically I almost never, like Korean cameras on me, I'm like,
this guy's really good. Shout-outs.
So
anyway, continue.
Anyway, so basically I almost never look at stats when I do a prediction. I think about the players' recent results. I think about how nervous they get. I think about like what position sometimes the player is in, like if they're first player, second player, third player, because that comes into nerves a lot. So I like to think about the players as like players and humans rather than like numbers in a stats book.
Yeah, very well said and very well guessed and predicted, Wolf. But let's get into introducing our players here. We got MarineKing, and so far in 2015, he is 2-7. One of the most disappointing records I have to say out of any player here. He has got a ton of fans, and he is just disappointing a lot of people. He has changed his song, and the name is I Will Show You. Maybe he's going to show us something new here in round number 2.
It certainly could be, man. I hope so, Valdez, because Round 1 was a rough time for him. He played a lot of games.
Yep, 9 games. He lost 7 of them. That's hard to do, man.
Leenock got the entirety of the votes in the winner's prediction here for game number 1. He's only played 1 game against Terran. He lost it, but that's not a very large sample size for recent games.
Yeah, he's got to play more games here. I think everybody wants to see more Leenock, and especially now that Life's gone, I think we will. I think he did come out quite often regardless, but I think he's going to come out even more here, especially maybe for those ace matches especially. So if you guys have got him on your FPL team, hope he's getting into those ace matches and winning.
Yeah.
So you can get your points.
Hopefully so. Getting those hands warmed up. Now the first map is going to be King Sejong Station for this matchup. My favorite map. I'm so glad they didn't retire it. When I saw the announcement, I was like, yes.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a great way. We're going to kick things off here for round number 2 on King Sejong Station, a map that has been around for a very long time. Let's jump into it. It's MarineKing versus Leenock. Down here in the bottom right, in the teal, for Team MVP, the Terran player, it is MarineKing.
And up to the top left, in pink, the Leenock Leenock himself, rocking that new "We Need a Sponsor" jersey for StarTale-yoe.
Yeah, man. This guy type in the chat, L star, E star, E star, N star, etc., etc.
Star C star K. All right, we got it.
Yep. I don't know what the idea behind that was. I've never seen that before.
Well, sometimes in Starcraft 1, because the lobby screen will often be posted up on the screen during that countdown phase, which is kind of why we have that sort of Starcraft 1 screen emulated and the countdown sounds emulated in this special lobby we have in Pro League. Players would do stuff like that, but usually they just kind of spam 1A, 2A, 3A, and things like that.
Yeah, GGGL.
Yeah.
Or as Dark does it, GGL Go, with a capital G for Go. And a capital L, I believe. He's got actually like a build.
Method.
He's got a build for this, man. He does the same exact thing every time. Also, Zess has got a build. He says, please lower the lights every single game.
Yes.
Every single time.
It's really
without
funny.
fail.
I was actually just about to mention that because I was going to say, yeah, some people like to say GLGF. Some people like to say, please be nice, please go easy on me. Some people like to put stars in between their names. Some people like to send some sort of message to the fan. And some people, like Zest, like to say, please turn the lights down. It's really bright.
Yeah, man. It's Zest and sometimes Hero. And I think there's one other player who does it as well. Some of the players really do dislike the lights, maybe just used to playing in the dark a bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the lighting for the cameras in the booth is, partially, of course, used to give the players a better camera shot, as you guys could see down to the bottom left of your screen. You don't have good lighting in there, the camera shot doesn't look good. But when you play at home, you don't have big, bright lights shining on you while you're playing. You don't have that in your house because no one's keeping a camera on you to, put some TV production quality camera footage while you're streaming even. It's just not how it works.
And, of course, that's part of the things you got to get used to when you first start playing in broadcasts and matches. You get a young guy of 15 going in the booth. He's like, I've never played with a giant camera in my face with blinking red lights before. And then they get really nervous.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many things that when you go and sit in the booth in the first time, you really have to think about that you never thought about before. Well, guys, it's a very standard opening here. We're going to have a gas opening, a speedling opening for Leenock, it looks like. And we do see that Reaper for MarineKing now going around the side of the map. Is going to try to sneak around, get some scouting information, poke at some drones.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting MarineKing to just do the MarineKing build, which is extreme greed all the time, CC first, sometimes low ground, even just like going for it, But this time, just a very standard build, and it's good for the map. I mean, Reapers are so good at just navigating this entire map. Great at scouting as well. I mean, they can go into that base very late in the game as well. Leenock, like you mentioned, he did get the gas, but he got the hatchery first. So just looking to get control of the map here in a bit with the speedlings.
Well, that sign, I didn't read all of it, but I did look at some of the player names and some of the stats over on the screen, and it was highlighting some of the players who had some of the worst records, actually, in Pro League Round 1, including MarineKing and Flash. So,
yeah, man. And guess who are two of the guys who are on my anti-team?
Me too.
Yeah, guys, for you guys who play FPL out there, actually all three of us have started for round number 2. I've never actually done this, and I don't think that Wolf or Moonglade have done this either.
This is my first time, actually.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see who is more successful. Wolf's good at predictions. Let's see if he's good at picking an FPL team.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm good at doing FPL, but we'll see. I've got some unique players. We'll talk a little bit about that. You know, some of them start to appear.
Yeah.
But Flash was absolutely my first pick on anti-team.
Oh yeah, me too.
I'm sorry. Flash.
Sorry, Flash fans. Sorry, MarineKing fans. He's on there too. The last guy for me was alive. Figure he's going to be playing a little bit more, and he's kind of shown some of the worst games we've seen here, just to be frank, in Pro League. So
yeah,
wanted to throw him on there.
He's definitely fallen a bit from his glory days.
Yeah. Here's hoping he comes back. I mean, that guy is such an awesome just person in general, super friendly, and would love to see him be successful. But, you know, FPL is important. You got to win. You got to do as well as possible.
So in this game, MarineKing is going for the 3rd CC build. He's not going for, like, Hellbats, for example, or some sort of heavy marine pressure that we see sometimes from Terrans on this map. He only made 1 Reaper. So he's doing what you would expect MarineKing to do in a best of 1 on King Sejong Station. And, you know, you would think that if he did this in a best of 3, oh, this is unfortunate. But you would think if he did this in a best of 3, for example, he would probably do some sort of aggressive build maybe in game number 2 or game number 3. But this is just a best of 1, and he's actually just going to try to play it MarineKing style, a little bit greedy, but more of a standard macro-oriented play. He's getting the double eBays. Now he's not doing some of his weird half-mech, half-bio play that we've seen him do before.
Oh, yeah. I think he's got to throw out all those old builds and just go back to the standard. Whenever you go in a big slump like this, you just got to go back to basics. You can never really continue to try to be innovative. You know what I mean? You know, look at one of the most successful players here in Pro League. It's innovation, but he doesn't innovate at all. He plays very, very standard, and I think MarineKing has got to take a note from that and just be like, okay, let's just play well. Let's play solid macro, and let's see if I can pick up some wins from that, because the guy is so talented. He definitely can, but he's just not for so long. So
yeah.
he's got to get back in his groove.
He certainly has some issues with nerves sometimes too. You know, say he's the type of player who, we saw him lose that Reaper earlier. That wasn't a significant time to lose the Reaper, but say he like lost the Reaper to 6lings that were waiting at the top of the ramp or something, and he just lost it immediately early on. He's the type of player that gets really affected by that. You can see it in his play.
It's easily tilted. We saw some embarrassing series. He had one against Fantasy, I believe, in the round of 32 of the SSL. I'm not sure who was casting that. I think that might have been me and you. Maybe it was me and Moonglade. But he lost the first game, and from there he gave up. It was obvious, and it was very sad to see. So here's hoping he grabs his mental.
And
he moves forward.
That's what we say here in Korea. Hoping to grab that mental.
Got to grab the mental and just, you know.
Hold on to your mind. Keep your mentality strong. Now, we do see a second factory as well as an armory coming down here, so there's definitely some potential for a lot of mech units to be added. We usually see Thors, obviously, in this matchup most often, especially against heavy Mutalisk play, which Leenock has been known to do, especially in Wings of Liberty. Leenock also very well known for trying to set Baneling landmine traps with his Mutalisk, try to bait Marines into those, which we don't see burrow out of him just yet this game.
So we got a big Ling attack coming here. There's a lot of speedlings, and a lot of these Marines are caught out. We're going to get a full surround around all these Marines. They're not stimming here.
This was an excellent trade for Leenock. I mean, he didn't have to use Banelings.
He's got stim, right? He's got stim finished.
Yeah,
I mean, it must be finished at this time. And he just like didn't stim, and he just sat there. He didn't micro at all. He wasn't even looking. He just got all of his Marines surrounded
14
and lost
Marines
all of them.
For like 17 at most Lings. Some of those might have even died before this fight.
That's a huge trade. I mean, look at the army of MarineKing now. How are you going to drop with that?
You can't. You can't do anything. The Hellions were just out of position. If the Hellions were anywhere nearby, or if he even just reacted at all, he'd been totally fine there. The stem, like you were talking about, in fact, he had upgrades for his Marines. His Marines had 1-1, I believe, during that, or at least right afterwards. Well, this is a very unfortunate position for MarineKing, because like you said, now he doesn't have any units to pressure on the map with. He's moving around with some Hellions, but they're not going to be able to get anything done at this point in the game. Oops, a bit of a mistake there, 6 in gas, but...
Yeah, he's had that for a while, actually. Our observer pointed that out a little bit earlier, and just going to keep it there. I guess he's liking that extra gas, even though it's not really getting him any extra gas. These Hellions trying to come over here and poke at the Lings. They do kill a bunch of them. And we're going to have a 4th CC, in fact, made.
Yeah. I think this is a good idea to just kind of hold on to this. Honestly, this is not what you want to do ideally as a Terran in most cases. You want to attack and harass, but he has to kind of turtle a bit here, get that CC up and get his upgrades up. But he's not even really ahead in upgrades. Like, Leenock is keeping up with that. He's got his own 2-2 on the way. He's got Burrow finished now, so we can see some of those landmines in action with the Banelings. And he's going very heavy on the Lynx here. He's just going to try to engage us again, but this is going to cost him big. 24 kills on that Widow Mine.
That was a bit interesting. Maybe trying to bait into that Burrow Baneling mine there, actually. But MarineKing not biting. Not yet, at least. Of course, that is right in the path that MarineKing could go to that 4th base of Leenock for. So maybe we'll see that come into effect a little bit later on. We do see Leenock now repositioning his army, trying to go possibly for a counterattack at the 3rd base. Maybe morph a lot of those into Banelings, break down the wall, and open that up to a bit of harass a little bit later on.
Certainly. Look at that. Just as you were saying, those Banelings are morphing right now. It's only a small supply depot wall, so pretty easy to break down and pretty expensive to break down. Should MarineKing lose a lot of those depots, that may affect his supply. But the bigger issue, of course, is those SCVs. If he can get in there and hit those, that's going to be pretty significant. Not sure what happened here. I think he accidentally just lifted all his CCs. Yep, he did. I think he accidentally hit the L key. He's on tilt. This is happening. We're watching this happen again, guys. I don't just say these things. This is not just me making stuff up. This happens. We've seen it happen, and we're watching this again.
Yeah, this is like the name of the game for MarineKing. It's so unfortunate. He's been doing this for so long.
There's a Baneling hit as well. It's going to get into his head.
Yeah. You can already see his expression turning sour in the booth. He's just not happy.
Well, pretty big hit there. These Banelings are not going to get anything done. Small victory here, and he's got turrets set up, so you know, he is holding on. He's actually ahead in supply here, and he's got decent upgrades.
Really nice.
Try to bait these. Okay, only a few Marines come forward, though.
Just barely missing, and now going for the attack here. Even the Muta's trying to come in here, but now backing off. A couple of those throwers in the front, as well as the Widow Mines and the Marines in the back to support. It's going to be hard for Leenock to engage this head-on right now.
That was really good positioning by MarineKing, and he's taken this very important high ground. This is what Moonglades talks a lot about on this map, is if you, as a Terran player, can hold this 4th base as a planetary, then you're going to be in a really good spot. It's so difficult for the Zerg to engage up a ramp into Widow Mines, Bio with the concave, and then if you finally get up there, you're running into a planetary. So it's difficult to commit to an attack like this, especially when you don't have a huge bank just yet.
Now Leenock wants to engage here. Some decent Baneling hits on the Marines in the front, but he's got to be careful. That's a lot of Bio in the back, as well as a bunch of Thors as well to just support here against the Mutalisk.
Even with that Baneling detonation, he got maybe like 7 or 8 Marines there. Somewhat significant, but he's still just not able to get what he wants. Like you can see on Leenock's face here, he's kind of looking at this saying, okay, this isn't exactly what I wanted. I think he was trying to force something to happen with those Banelings, and it just didn't work out. He's pulling back here. These Thors get caught again, but there's so much support from them in the back, and there's so much firepower in these Thors.
Yeah, that was a pretty big Widow Mine hit there on a lot of Banelings, and some of them even blowing up on the Thor as well. Some really nice positioning out of MarineKing here. So even though he does seem a little bit on tilt, he's not out of this yet, and he's playing decently well here in these engagements.
Yeah, he's trading well in these engagements, and this keeps Leenock's gas bank pretty low. And he's having to, of course, make a lot more Banelings. He is getting a high Mutalisk count, though. He's at 16 and soon to be at 19, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, now he just got 19. So even though the Mutalisks are fighting in some risky engagements, he's not really losing his Mutalisks, and he has picked off a Thor or two with some good Mutalisk control. And if you can pick off those Thors and keep your Mutalisks alive, that becomes a bigger and bigger threat.
Leenock having the time now to, in fact, go to Hive here. He's not going to just stay on the lair tech for a long time. He wants to go to these later tech units. We do see a bit of a counterattack now going for the back rocks. There's not much here besides just one turret, so if he can break this down, this is going to open up a huge path, and that can get really annoying for MarineKing if he does not have those units in position.
Yep. Oh, this could be disastrous, Valdez.
Here we go. He doesn't lift him.
Not paying attention.
Oh, man.
He's getting a lot of damage done here anyways. Can't blame him for focusing more on this. And those units might actually still come back and run into those anyways. Meanwhile, there's a lot of harassment going on over here at his 3rd base, which he has to deal with. He only has a few queens there. Oh, could he get this?
He could have, but he's not looking. Or he might have. Looks like he did get a decent amount there, but he's taking a lot of damage at the 3rd base. His middle base got canceled as well. So right now he's on even bases with MarineKing. That's not a place you want to be in. MarineKing has hit 3-3 upgrades now, and he wants to go for the push. He's got a very strong army.
He certainly does, Valdez, and he's also cleared that creep the left side of the map towards this 4th base, so he can actually easily access this. Thor's at the front here to tank a little bit of that damage. Widow Mine's at the back in a great spot here. Good splitting by MarineKing, and this is a bad situation for Leenock. He actually cannot stay here. He cannot stay here. He needs more Banelings. He's morphing them now.
Okay, he's got a lot more banelings, and that's the only reason he stays alive for now. Some of those baneling hits, not the best.
Oh, no! That could have been disastrous. Only 2, though. Only 2 banelings on that Widowmine.
Some decent snipes with the Marauders in the front, though. Now some banelings being pulled off here, just blowing up against the Marauders. Not even just fighting with his entire army at once. Leenock just not the best engagements right now.
And that Widowmine hit a lot of those Mulas. MarineKing's control here in this game has been quite on point. He's absolutely regained composure here. Adding another CC right now as he continues to just slowly push forward with his Widowmines. Leaving the Marauders at the front to tank and soak those baneling hits. The Mutalists are really the only issue. Oop, took a bit of a hit there, though. And now moving back, eating all of those Zerglings up. And Leenock low on resources here. Or rather, low on Zerglings, I should say, to make into banelings. Now having to make a ton more of those. He just has to keep replacing his lings. It's very expensive larval-wise right now for Leenock.
Yeah. And the problem with this is that MarineKing's got a bustling economy behind it. He's taking another base. He's got another CC behind it as well. Yeah. He's totally fine to just rally across the map right now with the 3-3 upgrades.
Exactly. Valdez, is that a Zerg bank that I see at the top right for the teal? Looks like it, man. 2,800, 1,300 for MarineKing's bank. That is a ton of money for a Terran to have.
It's pretty insane. He's been maxed for a very long time. Here we go. Leenock just moving in a ton of mutas over a bunch of Widowmine hits. The Thor's getting a lot of hits as well. And Leenock is struggling to hold this 4th base.
Yeah, he's down now to 12 Mutalists. And he's going to lose a few more here as these Thor shots are excellent. Thor's again here at the front. And he's got so much Marine support with the 3-3 upgrades. A ton of banelings on the way, but they're not ready yet. Again, Thor's at the front. Good splitting in the back. Widowmine's here to support as well. And Leenock is just taking unfavorable trades, but the fact of the matter is if he doesn't try to fight, he's going to lose his base. So he's forced to try to make something happen here. No splitting this time. That was a great hit.
He does sacrifice a lot of his Marines to take out that hatchery. I think it's worth it. I think this might push back MarineKing here, but it's okay. I mean, look at the supplies right now. Leenock's barely got anything either. He's only got these mutas right now.
Yep, GG. GG. Too many reinforcements coming through. His mutas got way too low. And MarineKing, despite taking some early losses and having some frustrations, is able to play a solid macro game and win.
What are we watching, man? Leenock just went down to MarineKing. That's not what I expected to be, perfectly frank here.
Well, that's not what any of the 7 commentators in the votes expected either.
This guy just does this sometimes. I'll bring you back to that prediction I made in round 2 or 3 of last season where it was MarineKing versus Roro. I was the only one to vote for him. He somehow won. This guy just like somehow wins randomly, and then the next day he's going to come in and he's going to be totally off his game. I don't know, man. He's just very inconsistent, but he picks up a win, and that's really all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's a very important win here. And you know what? This is a more important win, in my opinion, for than it is for MVP. It's a very important win for MarineKing. He wins a game. Not only he had some tough decisions he had to make, and he lost a few units here and there, and he was clearly frustrated, even accidentally lifted all of his CCs in a moment, had to land them all. He still was able to remain composed and take a win, and that's almost like a first for MarineKing in recent times, to be able to actually win a game where he was tilted
against such a big opponent as well. Leenock is arguably the best player on StarTale right now, and he just got shut out here by MarineKing. MarineKing playing very solid on that map. I have to say, he was making some mistakes, but I don't know, he was somehow able to make it win. It was really just the economy that he had behind everything. Even though he was losing a lot of units and just not really dropping, he wasn't really punishing, but he's just played a very high economy Terran there. It was very interesting.
I really wish I could pull like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and phone a friend on Moonglade on this one, because I really feel like I want to ask Moonglade, you know, for example, because he's our Zerg analysis specialist, on the baneling traps he was trying to set at that 4th base. It looked like he was really trying to make something work with that, and eventually when it didn't, he had already lost too much trying to make something happen. I think he was really fishing for a bait into those banelings, and I'm not sure if that ended up being a good idea in the long run.
I mean, just looking at the outside of things, I don't think that Leenock had the best control overall as well. I mean, he was trying to do fancy stuff with the landmines. He's made it work before in the past, and he's made it work very well, but he just looked a little bit off today, I think. You know, he wasn't landing those landmines. He got them down in great position, and he's really good at setting it up, but he just wasn't following through.
Yeah.
And then in some of the engagements, they were just pretty brutal, I have to say. Like, he was moving in a lot of banelings. There was that one time where he lost like 25 lings against one Widowmine. Just not the best engagements for the Zerg, and that's going to hurt you when you've got a Terran on like 5 CCs and 3-3.
I almost felt like he was trying to like force the baneling landmines in some cases, like trying to force MarineKing to run into them. Because if it works, you get a huge hit.
Yeah,
but if it fails 5-6 times in a row, you lose a few lings, you lose a few banelings, you lose a few lings, you lose a few banelings, you lose a mutalisk. Then it ends up not being worth it. It's very difficult to attack that 4th base anyways.
But the funny thing is that, like, MarineKing never really scanned it and, like, cleared it up at all. It was just like Leenock would burrow it, and then it would just never get unburrowed, and he would just never use it to his advantage.
Yeah.
It was kind of strange,
If you think about it, too, like, all those banelings that never got